Imagine this for a moment. A man sits quietly at a corner table in a bustling coffee shop. Around him, the world is in motion, but not in the way you'd hope. People are hunched over their screens, flicking through endless content, their eyes glazed with the hunger for likes, shares, and heart emojis. Couples lean in, not to talk, but to capture that perfect selfie. Groups chatter, not with depth, but gossip. And the solo patrons, they're swiping left and right on dating apps like it's a reflex, like connection can be summoned with a thumb. But this man, he's an anomaly. He's wearing simple clothes, earbuds in, lost in an audiobook about philosophy. It's not a viral dance video, not a trending meme. He isn't distracted, he's deeply immersed. He's not performing for anyone. He's not scrolling to numb himself. He's not waiting to be noticed. And here's the thing. He's not lonely. He's not desperate. He's not trying to get anything from anyone, and that makes him the most dangerous person in the entire room. Why is that? Why does a person, so self-contained, so at peace in his own mind, strike such an unsettling chord in society? Why is someone who doesn't seek approval, who doesn't panic in silence, who doesn't need a digital audience, seen as a threat? Keep that thought in your back pocket, because what comes next might permanently shift how you view solitude. We've been sold a lie, a very profitable one, about being alone. Here's the uncomfortable truth no one wants to talk about. Our entire social and economic system is engineered to exploit your neediness. Every ad you see, every swipe on an app, every influencer's morning routine, every 10 ways to be more confident video, they all run on one deeply rooted idea. You are not enough on your own. Find your soulmate. Join the community. Build your network. You need connection to be happy. What if that's all a carefully constructed illusion? What if the man sitting alone, fully present, fully content, is actually exposing something dangerous, something that rattles the very core of modern life? What if his quiet defiance is why society rushes to label him as lonely, weird, or antisocial? Here's what I've come to understand. Society doesn't fear the man who can't be alone. It fears the man who chooses to be. Because when solitude becomes your strength, when philosophy becomes your shield, you begin to see through the noise. Let me tell you about two men who embodied this truth centuries apart. Marcus Aurelius, ruler of the known world, wielded power that could command legions. Yet in the solitude of his nights, he turned inward. In his private journal, he wrote, "All cruelty springs from weakness." This wasn't the voice of a man drunk on power. It was the voice of a man wrestling with his soul. Then there was Friedrich Nietzsche, a philosopher who, though eventually consumed by madness, left behind ideas powerful enough to outlast empires. He once wrote, "The individual has always had to struggle not to be overwhelmed by the tribe." Both men grasped something raw and timeless, something society desperately tries to bury. The one who can sit alone with their thoughts is the one who can think independently. And independent thinking, that's about the most dangerous thing there is. The world calls them loners, introverts, even broken. But what if they're not broken? What if they're just free? The psychology of the dangerous loner is more than just a personality quirk. It's a worldview, a quiet rebellion against a system built to keep you constantly seeking validation, connection, noise, distraction. But what actually goes on inside the mind of someone who chooses solitude over social validation? That's what we're about to uncover next. First, they've broken free from the approval addiction. In a world obsessed with validation, where likes, comments, and shares function like social currency, most people are trapped in a constant loop of performance. They post, they wait, they refresh, hoping for that next little spike of dopamine. But this person? They've stepped away from that treadmill. They found something far more enduring, a sense of self-respect that isn't measured by algorithms or followers. Their worth doesn't fluctuate based on others' opinions. It comes from within, steady and untouchable. Second, they've learned to sit with discomfort. How many people do you know who can sit in silence, completely alone, without reaching for their phone? For most, even 5 quiet minutes feels unbearable. Why is that? Perhaps because silence is a mirror, one that reflects back the parts of ourselves we'd rather not see. In that stillness, our unresolved fears, insecurities, and regrets rise to the surface. And for many, that's terrifying, but not for the dangerous loner. They've made peace with the shadows inside. They've had those long, soul-wrenching conversations with themselves at 3 a.m., the kind that leave you raw but real. They've faced what others run from, the truth about who they are. And instead of being broken by it, they've become stronger.
Ow.
They've grown. They've transformed discomfort into clarity. Third, they can't be manipulated. This is where things get serious. When someone no longer craves approval, they also become immune to the fear of rejection. They can't be lured with popularity or silenced by peer pressure. Their compass points inward, not toward what others think, but toward what they know to be true. And that, in today's world, is a revolutionary act. The Marcus Aurelius method: strength through solitude. To most modern minds, his daily ritual might seem outdated, even strange. Every evening, Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, would reflect in writing. But this wasn't a diary filled with idle thoughts. It was a rigorous practice he called the discipline of desire. He would ask himself, what did I want today that I didn't actually need? What did I fear that was outside my control? Where did I compromise myself just to be liked? This wasn't self-indulgence. This was training. He was building mental and emotional strength, carving away illusions, sharpening the blade of his awareness. Because Marcus understood something most people never will: the person who truly knows themselves, their desires, fears, and values becomes immune to shallow manipulation. When you've gone deep within, no surface-level tactic can move you. The games others play, you see right through them. Their approval, irrelevant. Their rejections, powerless. You become dangerous because you become free. The Nietzsche problem: creating your own values. Nietzsche didn't stop where Marcus did. He took it a step further. He warned that the most radical and therefore most dangerous act of all is to create your own values. Most people, he argued, aren't living their own lives. They inherit their beliefs. They adopt their parents' morals, their culture's codes, their friends' preferences. They live like actors playing out a script written by someone else. But the loner who's brave enough to spend time in solitude, they begin to question, why do I believe what I believe? And if it's for me believing it? If I could start over, what would I choose to value? That's when it gets dangerous. Because once you begin thinking for yourself, truly thinking, you become unpredictable.
Ow.
You can no longer be molded by media, pressured by peers, or bought by brands. You stop being the obedient consumer. You stop being the citizen who votes how they're told, buys what they're sold, and lives how they're instructed. You stop being a good little consumer who buys what they're told to buy, votes how they're told to vote, and lives how they're told to live. The modern epidemic: loneliness versus solitude. This is where we need to get brutally honest, not with others, but with ourselves, about a crucial distinction most people never stop to question. Society has blurred the line between loneliness and solitude, and that confusion isn't accidental. It serves a purpose. Loneliness is a state of lack. It's the uncomfortable, aching sense that something or someone is missing. It whispers that you're incomplete, that there's a gap inside you waiting to be filled by others. It pushes you to reach outward in desperation, hoping that someone, somewhere, will fill the void. But solitude is the complete opposite. Solitude is a state of wholeness. It's when you are fully at ease in your own presence. It's the quiet confidence of being able to enjoy your own company without distraction. You don't feel the need to escape into noise or cling to other people for validation. You can sit in silence, not as a punishment, but as a privilege. So why is this distinction so misunderstood? It's because confusing the two serves a system that profits off your discomfort. A lonely person becomes a perfect consumer. They buy things to feel better. They scroll endlessly, looking for connection. They chase quick fixes and fall prey to shallow validation. Their attention is fractured, and their emotions are easily manipulated. But a person who finds peace in solitude, they're immune to that. They're not buying to soothe a wound. They're not posting to be seen. They're not addicted to noise. They're thinking. They're reflecting. They're growing and thinking people. They are deeply threatening to systems that depend on thoughtless compliance. The 4 pillars of dangerous solitude. After exploring the minds of Marcus Aurelius and Nietzsche, 4 core principles emerge, pillars that define the person who has made peace with solitude. Each of them reveals why this kind of person is not only rare, but powerful, and yes, even dangerous one. Radical self-honesty. The dangerous loner doesn't flinch when facing the truth, especially about themselves.
Ow.
They've examined their desires, their fears, their failures. They don't sugarcoat reality to protect their ego. They've looked in the mirror and chosen not to look away. This level of self-awareness makes them dangerous because they can spot deception in others and in systems. They can see through masks, through manipulation, through the carefully crafted performances society rewards. You can't sell lies to someone who refuses to lie to themselves, too. Value independence. Their moral compass isn't handed down. It's built slowly and deliberately through reason and experience. They don't follow trends or traditions blindly. They don't conform just to fit in. But don't mistake this for rebellion. Often these individuals hold themselves to a higher ethical standard, not because they're told to, but because they've chosen to. This makes them dangerous because shame and guilt, tools often used to control behavior, don't work. On them, they aren't swayed by disapproval. They don't seek to please. They do what they believe is right, even when it's unpopular. 3. Emotional self-sufficiency. This is where most people falter. But the dangerous loner, they've cultivated the rare ability to sit with their feelings, all of them. They don't outsource their emotional well-being to others. They don't need constant reassurance. They're their own anchor. And that makes them dangerous too, because emotional independence means you can't be manipulated with affection, fear, rejection, or praise. You don't need someone's love or acceptance to feel complete. And that kind of stability is threatening in a world built on emotional volatility. For intellectual courage, they think boldly. They ask the questions others are too afraid to ask. They examine the beliefs most people accept blindly. They follow the evidence even when it leads to uncomfortable or unpopular conclusions. And they speak their truth, even when it costs them. This is the ultimate danger to the status quo. Because when you're not afraid of being misunderstood, excluded, or criticized, your voice carries a power that can't be silenced. You become a threat, not through rebellion, but through honesty. The price of being dangerous. Let's not pretend this path is easy. Choosing independence over approval, solitude over noise, and truth over comfort. It's not a path lined with applause. It's good there's a cost. And the world around you will make sure. You feel it. People will misunderstand you. They won't know what to do with someone who doesn't crave attention. Might call you antisocial, arrogant, aloof, even broken. They'll pathologize your preference for solitude, treating it like a problem to be fixed rather than a strength to be respected. You'll be labeled, boxed in, and told you're missing out. And sometimes you will feel isolated. Not lonely, there's a difference, but separated, set apart. Like you're standing on a hill watching the world swirl below. Everyone lost in their endless search for something outside themselves. You'll see clearly that most people are living on a different frequency, one powered by distraction, approval, and shallow connection. In that clarity, it can feel isolating. You'll lose some relationships. Some people will quietly drift away because your growth shines a light on their stagnation. Others, consciously or not, will feel threatened by your independence they were comfortable with. Your neediness, it gave them a role, a function. But now you don't need them in the same way, and that unsettles them. Friends may fade, family members may grow distant. You'll feel the pull, subtle, persistent, to return to the norm. Society won't let go easily. It will keep trying to drag you back into the herd. You'll hear it in casual remarks. Why don't you get out more? Or you're too serious. There will be pressure, sometimes soft, sometimes harsh, to be more social, more normal, more like everyone else. But here's the thing, no one tells you the price of conformity is even higher. Because when you trade your truth for acceptance, yourself for approval, your solitude for popularity, what you're really giving up is your soul. Why society fears the self-sufficient? Let's talk plainly. Your independence threatens people, but not just emotionally. It threatens deeply. Embedded structures. Why? Let's break it down. Economic reasons. Our entire economy thrives on insecurity. Advertising plays on your fears, your doubts, your desire to impress. Most people buy things they don't need to impress people they don't even like, just to feel like they belong. But when you're truly content with yourself, you don't need to buy much. You're not a good consumer, and that's bad for business. Social. Reasons, social systems, cliques, circles, hierarchies, all depend on people caring about where they stand. If you no longer care about your rank, about approval or status, you can't be controlled. If you become unpredictable, and unpredictable people don't fit easily into social systems. It's built on conformity, political reasons. Let's be honest. Many political systems rely on shaping popular opinion. They count on people moving as a group, following trends, believing headlines without question. But if you think for yourself, if you question everything, you become hard to manipulate, difficult to sway. You don't just vote, you decide. Psychological reasons. This is the deepest threat of all. Your self-sufficiency becomes a mirror, one that reflects what others are trying to avoid. Your calm exposes their restlessness. Your peace highlights their turmoil. Your freedom reminds them of their cage. And that kind of reflection, it makes people uncomfortable. The modern Stoic, applying ancient wisdom. So how do you become this kind of person? Dangerous in the best possible way. How do you build solitude not as a prison, but as a fortress? Start with small doses. Practice. Being alone without reaching for a screen. Ain't no phone, no music, no podcast. Just you and your thoughts. Begin with 10 minutes, then stretch it. Make it a ritual, not a punishment. Practice the evening review. Like Marcus Aurelius, use the quiet moments at the end of the day to reflect. Ask, what did I do well today? Where did I fall short? What did I learn not about the world, but about myself? Question your beliefs. Like Nietzsche, challenge what you've been handed. Don't accept ideas just because they're common or comfortable. Dig deeper. Think harder. Why do I believe this? Would I still believe it if I were alone on a desert? Island. Develop your own moral code. Let reason and personal experience guide you, not tradition, not peer pressure. Ask yourself, who do I want to be? Then live in alignment with that answer, even if it costs you approval. Learn to enjoy your own company. Find joy in solo activities. Read, walk, create, think. Build a life that feels full, even in silence. Cultivate a rich inner world, one that no one can take from you. Stop seeking validation. This is the hardest step and the most liberating. Give up the need for applause. Let go of the urge to be liked, followed, or admired. Stop measuring your worth by how others respond to you. Find your value within, where it's always been. The paradox of dangerous solitude. Here's the beautiful irony. It's the one who no longer needs others becomes the one others are irresistibly drawn to. Why? It's because there's something magnetic about a person who is complete by themselves. When you're no longer needy, no longer chasing attention, no longer desperate for connection, you become a quiet force. You radiate a calm confidence, a grounded energy, a presence that doesn't beg to be noticed, but is impossible to ignore. And here's the key. You're not doing it for others. You're not cultivating inner strength to impress or to attract. You're doing it because it's simply the right way to live, the truest, most stable path you can walk. Any admiration that follows, it's just a byproduct, never the goal. Relationships improve when you don't need them. When you choose to be with someone, not out of emptiness, not to fill a void, but from a place of genuine desire, that connection becomes more honest, more resilient, more alive. It's no longer about possession, it's about presence. Friendships deepen when they're optional. When you're with someone because you want to be, not because you're afraid of being alone. That friendship is no longer built on fear, it's built on joy. It becomes more real, more respectful, more enduring. You're no longer clinging, you're sharing. Work becomes more fulfilling. When you're not desperate for validation from your boss, your peers, or the market, you're free. Free to do excellent. Work for its own sake. Free to chase mastery, not approval. Free to create without fear. Life becomes more meaningful. When you no longer live for applause, when you're not constantly chasing validation, you start asking deeper questions. What matters to me? What do I truly value? And suddenly, you're living a life with direction, not distraction. The call. Too dangerous living. So now here's my challenge to you. Become dangerous. Not in the destructive sense, not in the way the world typically defines danger, but dangerous in the way that truly matters. It's dangerous because you're impossible to control. Dangerous because you think for yourself. Dangerous because you're emotionally whole, spiritually grounded, morally independent. Dangerous because you are complete on your own. Because your sense of self comes from within, not from trends, not from opinions, not from praise or rejection. You have your own values, your own code, your own source of strength that makes you untouchable in all the right ways. The world needs more of that. It needs more people who can't be bought. More people who won't bend just to be accepted. More people who don't need likes to feel worthy, or people who can sit in silence, unafraid of what they'll hear in the stillness. World needs more people who are truly, powerfully, unshakably dangerous. If this hit you in the chest, the way it hit me when I first understood it, then I need you to do just one thing. Share this. Send it to someone who needs to hear it. You already know who they are. Maybe, just maybe, they're waiting for this message more than you think, because the algorithm needs to know that content like this matters. Drop a comment. Tell me, what's one belief you've been carrying that you never consciously chose? What's one area where you've been chasing validation instead of building self-respect? And remember, in a world full of people desperate to fit in, the most radical act is learning to stand alone. Stay dangerous, my friends.